My name's David Grant. I'm the director of this afternoon's performance. We're so pleased to have you here and to be in Florence Courthouse. Big thank you to Holly and all the team at Florence Court for both for making us so welcome, but also for allowing us a certain license. We've had to be very careful, obviously, of the artifacts and very respectful of the environment. But as you'll see, we've been able to make free use of the space and use each room as a performance space. When I was first invited by Sean Doran, the director of the Wilde Weekend Festival, to put together something for the festival, Florence Court immediately came to mind. We've no documentary evidence that Oscar ever came here during his time at Portora, but one imagines that a well-to-do young man in Dublin would have connections, and I'm sure it's a good chance he might have been invited to tea. The reason, though, for choosing the house to present his work is just a perfect fit, I think, in terms of the style, the elegance, and let's be frank, the campness of the decor, you know. The rooms lend themselves beautifully, I think, to the scenes we're presenting. There's one particularly lovely moment which we just discovered by pure chance. There is Mrs. Where's the photographer? This is the one to look out for. There's a portrait above the mantelpiece in the drawing room of a very handsome red-headed woman. Is that somebody told me who that was?
Yes, Charlotte, fourth countess.
The fourth countess, and she is reading something. And just by happy chance, the actress we have playing Lady Windermere is also red-haired, and it does look as if she's the one in the portrait. So it's those kinds of resonances that are so exciting when we take performance into a specific location like Florence Court. What I've sought to do is to distill the essence of three of Oscar's best-loved works: The Importance of Being Earnest, Lady Windermere's Fan, and the novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And if you know those works, hopefully you will understand the context. If you don't, I hope we're showing you enough to get the gist. But I'd urge you not to worry too much about following the plot lines. What I'm interested really in is just the way that these scenes talk to one another. And in particular, knowing what we now know about what happened at the end of Oscar Wilde's life, his tragic fall, the way in which some of those ideas are prefigured in the work. There are hints, there are clues. There's a moment when Lord Darlington, talking of Mrs. Earlham, talks about the great tragedy that she brought the disgrace on herself by her own actions. And it's hard not to hear that without thinking of Oscar Wilde's own fate. And indeed, when any of you who heard Stanley Townsend read the first part of De Profundis in St. Michael's on Friday, there is almost a direct quotation in De Profundis that relates to that very moment. So a play that was written before all the events that Wilde was talking about in De Profundis seems to foreshadow what eventually befalls. When you arrive in the hallway, you will be greeted by Oscar, his wife Constance, his mother Speranza, and Lord Alfred Douglas, I'll through more later. And you will find them recurring again, so don't get confused if actors pop up in different roles. It's part of the way in which we've tried to integrate the stories together. Generally speaking, we have a large group today, so generally speaking, we will be giving you advice on the best place to stand. Normally, the action takes place around the fireplace, so we'll sort of ask you to gather in a horseshoe around that. But if we could be thoughtful with one another, if there's smaller people, they can maybe go towards the front. But we'll let you organise yourself as you go around. All of the scenes take place in the main reception rooms, with the exception of one which is on the servants' stairs. And when we come to that scene, we'll be asking the first people through the door to go up one flight of steps, the second half of the group to go down one flight of steps, and then turn to face the landing that connects them. The action takes place on the landing. So it will be self-evident, I hope, when we go there. I'm just aware that it's an hour-long show, so it is quite a long stand, but we're never in any room for more than 4 minutes, so people seem to have found it manageable. But as Holly will explain, there are some seats which we have designated for audience seating. If you want to sort of take a rest on those, they will be all marked with ribbons. But as Holly has been reminding us, please don't sit on any other seats as they might give way under you, and that would be a shame.
to our humble home. Constance and I deem ourselves privileged to receive you, a sentiment with which I am sure you will steadfastly agree, Mamma. Before Bosie conducts you to the drawing room, allow me to say just this by way of introduction. The artist is the creator of beautiful things. To reveal art and conceal the artist is art's aim. Those who find ugly meanings in beautiful things are corrupt, without being charming. This is a fault. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are cultivated. For these there is hope. They are the elect, to whom beautiful things mean only beauty. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written or badly written, and that is all. Now all art is at once surface and symbol. Those who go beneath the surface do so at their peril. Those who read the symbol do so at their peril. It is the spectator, and not life, that art truly mirrors. Let us commence.
Is your ladyship at home this afternoon?
Yes, who is called?
Lord Dockington, my lady.
Show him up.
Yes, my lady. Lord Dockington.
How do you do, Lady Windermere?
How do you do, Lord Darlington? No, I can't shake hands with you. My hands are all up with these flowers. Aren't they lovely?
Well, they're quite perfect. What a wonderful fan. May I look at it?
Do. Pretty, isn't it? It's got my name on it and everything. I've only just seen it myself. It is my husband's birthday present to me. You know today is my birthday.
No, is it really?
Yes. I am of age today. Quite an important day in my life, isn't it?
I wish I'd known it was your birthday, Lady Windermere. I would have covered the whole street in front of your house with flowers for you to walk on. They are made for you.
Lord Darlington, you annoyed me last night at the Foreign Office, and I'm afraid you are going to annoy me again.
You're quite miserable, Lady Windermere. You must tell me what I did.
Well, you kept paying me elaborate compliments the whole evening.
Oh, nowadays we're all of us so hard up that the only pleasant things to pay are compliments. They're the only things we can pay.
No, I'm talking very seriously. You mustn't laugh, I'm quite serious. I don't like compliments, and I don't see why a man should think he is pleasing a woman enormously when he says to her a whole heap of things he doesn't mean.
Ah, but I did mean them.
I hope not. Don't you want the world to take you seriously, Lord Darlington?
No, not the world. I should like you to take me very seriously, Lady Windermere. You more than anyone else in life.
Why me?
Because I think we might be great friends. Let us be great friends. You may want a friend someday.
Why do you say that?
Oh, we all want friends at times.
I think we are very good friends already, Lord Darlington. We can always remain so as long as you don't
What?
Don't spoil it by saying extravagant, silly things to me. You think I'm a Puritan, I suppose. Well, I have something of the Puritan in me. I was brought up like that.
My dear Lady Windermere.
You look at me as being behind the age. Well, I am. I should be sorry to be in the same level as an age like this.
You think the age very bad?
Yes. Nowadays, people look at life as a speculation. It is not a speculation. It is a sacrament. Its ideal is love, its purification is sacrifice.
Oh, anything is better than being sacrificed.
Don't say that.
I do say it. I feel it. I know it. Do you think then, of course I'm only putting an imaginary instance, do you think that in the case of a young married couple, say about 2 years married, if the husband suddenly becomes the intimate friend of a woman of, well, more than doubtful character, he's always calling upon her, lunching with her, and probably paying her bills, do you think the wife should not console herself?
Console herself.
Yes, I think she should. I think she has the right.
Because the husband is vile, should the wife be vile also?
Well, this is a terrible word, Lady Windermere.
It is a terrible thing, Lord Darlington.
And you know, I'm afraid that good people do a great deal of harm in this world. And I must say, I think you're very hard on modern life, Lady Windermere. Do you think seriously that women who have committed what the world calls a fault should never be forgiven?
I think they should never be forgiven.
And men? Do you think there should be the same laws for men as there are for women?
Certainly.
Ah, what a fascinating Puritan you are, Lady Windermere.
The adjective was unnecessary, Lord Darlington.
I couldn't help it. I can resist everything except temptation.
Society is coming to. The most dreadful people seem to go everywhere. They certainly come to my parties. The men get quite furious if one doesn't ask them. Really, someone should make a stand against it.
What I want to know is this. Who is she? Where does she come from? Why hasn't she got any damn relations? Damn nuisance relations, but they make one so damn respectable.
That horrid woman. She dresses so well too, which makes it much worse. Sets such a dreadful example. My disreputable brother, such a trial to us all, is completely infatuated about her.
No tea for that, Lydia. We have just had tea at Lady Margaret's. Such bad tea, too. It was quite unpleasant. I was, of course, surprised. Her own son was surprised.
Look here, dear boy. I don't know what to do about Mrs. Erden. Egad, I might be married to her. She treats me with such damned indifference. She's too clever, too. She explains everything. Egad, she explains you. She's got any amount of explanations for you, and all of them
It is
different.
quite scandalous, for she is absolutely inadmissible into society. Many a woman has passed, but I am told that she has at least a dozen, and they all fit.
Only last night at dear Lady Jackson's, everyone was saying how extraordinary it was that of all men in London, Windermere should behave in such a way.
He goes to see her continually, and stops for hours at a time. And while he is there, she is not at home to anyone. Not that many ladies call on her dear, but she has a great many disreputable men friends. And that is what makes it so dreadful about Windermere. We looked upon him as being such a model husband, but I am afraid there is no doubt about it.
I have been dining with Arabella this evening. By Jove, you should have heard what she said about Mrs. Erden. She didn't leave a rag on her. Berwick and I told her that didn't matter much, as the lady in question must have an extremely fine figure. You should have seen Arabella's expression.
My dear nieces, you know the Savile girls, don't you? Such nice domestic creatures. Plain, dreadfully plain, but so good. Well, they're always at the window doing fancy work and making ugly things for the poor, which I think so useful of them in these dreadful socialistic days. And this terrible woman has taken a house in Curzon Street, right opposite them. Such a respectable street,
I
too.
don't know what we're coming to. And they tell me that Windermere goes there 4 and 5 times a week. They see him. They can't help it. And although they never talk scandal, well, of course, they remark on it to everyone.
And the worst of it all is that I have been told that this woman has got a great deal of money out of somebody. For it seems that she came to London 6 months ago without anything to speak of. And now she has this charming house in Mayfair, drives her ponies in the park every afternoon and all. Well, all since she has known poor dear Windermere.
Mr. Ernest Worthing.
How are you, my dear Ernest? Where have you been since last Thursday?
In the country. Who's coming to tea?
Oh, merely Aunt Augusta and Gwendolen.
How perfectly delightful. I've come up to town expressly to propose to her.
That's all very well, but I'm afraid Aunt Augusta won't quite approve.
But I'm in love with Gwendolen.
My dear fellow, Gwendolen is my first cousin, and before I allow you to marry her, you will have to clear the whole question up of Cecily.
Cecily? What on earth do you mean? What do you mean, Algy, by Cecily? I don't know anyone of the name Cecily.
Bring me that cigarette case Mr. Worthing left in the smoking room the last time he dined here.
You mean to say you've had my cigarette case this whole time?
It makes no matter. For now that I read the inscription inside, it isn't yours after all.
Well, of course it's mine. You've seen me with it 100 times. And you've no right whatsoever to read what is written inside. It's a very ungentlemanly thing to read a private cigarette case.
Yes, but this isn't your cigarette case. This cigarette case is a present from someone of the name of Cecily. And you said you didn't know anyone of that name.
Well, if you want to know, Cecily happens to be my aunt.
Your aunt?
Oh, yes. Charming old lady she is, too. Lives at Tunbridge Wells. Just give it back to me, Aunt.
But why does she call herself Little Cecily?
From little Cecily, with her fondest love, to her dear Uncle Jack. Now, there is no objection, I admit, to an aunt being a small aunt. But why an aunt, no matter what her size may be, should call her own nephew her uncle? I can't quite make it out. Besides, your name isn't Jack at all. It's Ernest.
Well, my name is Ernest in town and Jack in the country. And the cigarette case was given to me in the country.
Yes, but that does not account for the fact that your small Aunt Cecily calls you her dear uncle. Now go on. Tell me the whole thing. I must mention that I have always suspected you of being a secret and confirmed Bunburyist. And I am quite sure of it now.
Bunburyist? What on earth do you mean by Bunburyist?
I'll reveal you the meaning of that incomparable expression as soon as you're kind enough to tell me why you are Ernest in town and Jack in the country.
There is nothing improbable about my explanation at all. It's perfectly ordinary. Old Mr. Thomas Cardew, who adopted me when I was a little boy, made me in his will guardian to his granddaughter, Miss Cecily Cardew.
But why you Ernest in town and Jack in the country?
My dear Algy, when one is placed in a position of guardian, one has to adopt a very high moral tone. So, in order to get up to town, I have always pretended to have a younger brother of the name of Ernest. That, my dear Algy, is the whole truth, pure and simple.
The truth is rarely pure and never simple. What you really are is a Bunburyist. You're one of the most advanced Bunburyists I know.
What on earth do you mean, Algy?
You have invented a very useful younger brother called Ernest, in order that you may be able to go up to town as often as you like. I have invented a permanent invalid called Bunbury, in order that I may be able to go down to the country as often as I choose. Bunbury is perfectly invaluable.
I'm not a Bunburyist at all. If Gwendolen accepts me, I'm going to kill my brother. Indeed, I think I shall kill him in any case. Cecily is a little too much interested in him. So, I'm going to get rid of Ernest. And I strongly advise you do the same with your invalid friend, who has the absurd name.
Nothing will induce me to part with Bunbury. And if you ever get married, which seems to me to be extremely problematic, you'll be very glad to know, Bunbury. A man who marries without knowing Bunbury has a very tedious time.
How horrible. I understand now what Lord Darlington meant by the imaginary instance of the couple not 2 years married. Oh, it can't be true. He loves me. He loves me. But why should I not look? I am his wife. I have the right to look. Mrs. Erling, £600. Mrs. Erling, £700. Mrs. Erling, £400. Oh, it is true. It is true. How horrible.
Well, dear, has the fan been sent home yet? Well, you've opened my bank book. You've no right to do such a thing.
You think it wrong that you're found out, don't you?
I think it wrong that a wife should spy on her husband.
I did not spy on you. I never knew of this woman's existence till half an hour ago. Someone who pitied me was kind enough to tell me what everyone in London knows already. Your daily visits to Curzon Street, your mad infatuation, the monstrous sums of money you squander in this infamous woman.
Margaret, don't talk like that of Mrs. Erling. You don't know how unjust it is.
You were very jealous of Mrs. Erling's honour. I wish you had been as jealous of mine.
Your honour is untouched, Margaret. I never loved anyone in the whole world but you.
Who is this woman then?
Mrs. Erling was once honoured, loved, respected. She was well born, she had a position, she lost everything, threw it away if you like. That's what makes it all the more bitter. Misfortunes one can endure, they're from outside, they are accidents, but to suffer for one's own faults, there is the sting in life. It was 20 years ago too. She was little more than a girl then. She'd been a wife for even less time than you have.
I'm not interested in her. And you should not mention this woman and me in the same breath. It is an error of taste.
Margaret, you could save this woman. She wants to get back into society and she wants your help.
Me.
Yes, you.
As a triumph for her, I suppose.
No, but because she knows that you're a good woman. And that if she comes here once, she has a chance of a happier life, a surer life than she has had. Won't you help a woman try and get back?
No. If a woman really repents, she never wishes to return to the society that has made or seen her ruin.
I beg of you.
I shall do nothing of the kind.
You refuse.
Absolutely.
How hard good women are!
How weak-pert men are!
None of us men may be good enough the woman we married. That is quite true, but you don't imagine. Oh, the suggestion is quite monstrous.
Why should you be different from other men? I am told there is hardly a husband in London who doesn't waste his life over some shameful passion.
I am not one of them!
I'm not sure of that.
You are sure in your heart. But don't make chasm after chasm between us. God knows the next few minutes have thrust us wide apart enough.
Us? From this moment, my life is separate from yours. But if you wish to avoid a public scandal, write at once to this woman and tell her I forbid her to come here.
I will not. I cannot. She must come.
Then I shall do exactly as I said. You leave me no choice.
Margaret! Margaret! My God. What am I going to do? I dare not tell her who this woman really is. The shame would kill her.
Just turn your head a little more to the right, Dorian, like a good boy.
My dear fellow, I congratulate you most warmly. It is the finest picture of modern times. Why on earth won't you exhibit this extraordinary portrait of Dorian Gray?
Because there's too much of myself in the thing, Harry. Too much of myself.
Mr. Gray, come over here and look at yourself.
Is it really finished?
Well, don't you like it?
Of course he likes it. Who wouldn't like it? It is the finest thing of modern art.
How sad it is. I shall grow old and horrible and dreadful, but this picture shall remain always young. If only the other way, if it were I that was to be always young and the picture that was to grow old. For that I would give everything. I would give my soul for that. I'm jealous of everything whose beauty does not die. Why should it keep what I must lose? Why did you paint it? It will mock me someday. Mock me horribly. I should like to come to the theatre with you, Lord Henry.
And you shall come. You will come too, Basil, won't you?
I can't really. I'd sooner not. I have a lot of work to do.
You and I will go alone then, Mr. Gray.
Don't go to the theatre tonight, Dorian. Stop and dine with me.
I can't, Basil.
Well, why?
Because I've promised Lord Henry to go with him.
Very well. Come and see me soon. Come tomorrow.
Certainly.
You won't forget.
No, of course not.
I trust you.
I wish I could trust myself. Come, Mr. Gray. My hansom is outside, and we can drop you by your place and collect you before the theatre. Goodbye, Basil. It has certainly been a most interesting afternoon.
How late you are, Harry.
I am afraid it is not Harry, Mr. Gray.
I beg your pardon. I thought...
You thought it was my husband. It is only his wife. You must let me introduce myself to you. I know you quite well by your photographs. I think my husband has got 17 of them.
Not 17, Lady Henry.
Well, 18 then. And I saw you with him the other night at the opera.
That was at Lohengrin, Lady Henry, I think.
Yes, that was dear Lohengrin. I like Wagner's music better than anyone's. It is so loud that one can talk the whole time without others hearing what one says. And that is a great advantage. Don't you think so, Mr. Gray?
I'm afraid I don't think so, Lady Henry. I never talk during music.
At least during good music. If one hears bad music, it is one's duty to drown it in conversation.
Ah, that is one of Harry's views, isn't it, Mr. Gray? I always hear Harry's views from his friends. It's the only way I get to know them. But here is Harry. Harry, I came in to look for you to ask you something. I forget what it was. And I found Mr. Gray here. He has been most pleasant. I am so glad I've seen him.
I'm charmed, my love, quite charmed. So sorry I'm late, Dorian. I went to look after a piece of old brocade in Water Street and had to bargain over it for hours. Nowadays, people know the price of everything and the value of nothing.
I am afraid I must be going. Goodbye, Harry. Goodbye, Mr. Gray. You're dining out, I suppose.
I dare say, my dear. Never marry a woman with straw-coloured hair, Dorian.
I don't think I'm likely to marry. I am too much in love. That is one of your aphorisms. I'm putting it into practice, as I do everything you say.
You can take a seat, Mr. Worthing.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell. I prefer standing.
I feel bound to tell you that you are not down on my list of eligible young men. However, I am quite ready to enter your name, should your answers be what a really affectionate mother requires. Do you smoke?
Well, yes, I must admit I smoke.
I am glad to hear it. A man should always have an occupation of some kind. There are far too many idle men in London as it is. How old are you?
29.
A very good age to be married at. I have always been of the opinion that a man who desires to get married should know either everything or nothing. Which do you know?
I know nothing, Lady Bracknell.
I am pleased to hear it. I do not agree with anything that tampers with natural ignorance. Ignorance is like a delicate exotic fruit. Touch it and the whole bloom is gone. What is your income?
Between 7,000 and 8,000 a year.
In land or in investments?
In investments, chiefly. I have a country house, too, with some land attached to it, of course. But I don't depend on that for my real income.
A country house. How many bedrooms? Well, that point can be cleared up afterwards. You have a townhouse, I hope. A girl with a simple, unspoiled nature like Gwendolen could hardly be expected to reside in the country.
Well, I own a house in Belgrave Square.
What number in Belgrave Square?
149.
The unfashionable side. I thought there was something. Now to minor matters. Are your parents living?
I have lost both my parents.
To lose one parent, Mr. Worthing, may be considered as a misfortune. To lose both looks like carelessness. Who was your father? He was evidently a man of some wealth.
I'm afraid I really don't know. The fact is, Lady Bracknell, I said I lost my parents. It would be near the truth to say that my parents seem to have lost me. I don't actually know who I am by birth. I was found.
Found?
Yes, by the late Mr. Thomas Cardew. An old gentleman of a very charitable and kindly disposition found me and gave me the name of Worthing because he happened to have a first-class ticket for Worthing in his pocket at the time. Worthing is a place in Sussex. It's a seaside resort.
Where did this charitable gentleman with this first-class ticket for this seaside resort find you?
In a handbag.
A handbag?
Yes, Lady Bracknell, a handbag. A quite large, black leather handbag, with handles to it. An ordinary handbag, in fact.
In what locality did this Mr. Thomas Cardew come across this ordinary handbag?
At the cloakroom at Victoria Station. It was given to him in mistake for his own.
The cloakroom at Victoria Station?
Yes. The Brighton line.
The line is immaterial. Mr. Worthing, I confess I feel somewhat bewildered by what you have just told me. To be born, or at any rate bred in a handbag, whether it had handles or not, seems to me to display a contempt for the ordinary decencies of family life that reminds one of the worst excesses of the French Revolution. And I presume you know what that unfortunate movement led to. As for the particular locality in which the handbag was found, a cloakroom at a railway station might serve to conceal a social indiscretion, and has probably been used for that purpose before now. But it could hardly be regarded as an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
May I ask you then, what you'd advise me to do?
Me, sir? What is it to do with me? You can hardly imagine that I and Lord Bracknell would allow our only daughter, a girl brought up with the utmost care, To marry into a cloakroom and form an alliance with a parcel. Good morning, Mr. Worthing.
Why doesn't Lord Darlington come? This waiting is horrible. He should be here. Why is he not here to wake my passionate words some fire within me? I am cold. Cold as a loveless thing. Arthur must have read the letters by now. If he cared for me, he would have come after me, taken me back by force. But he doesn't care. He's entrammelled by this woman, fascinated by her, dominated by her. Lord Darlington leaves England tomorrow. I will go with him. I have no choice. Mrs. Allen!
Lady Windermere, thank heavens I am in time. You must go back to your husband's house immediately.
Must?
Yes, there is not a second to be lost. Lord Darlington may return at any moment.
But don't come near me. I know why you're here. My husband sent you to lure me back, so that I might serve as a blind to whatever relations exist between you and him.
Lady Windermere, you wrong me horribly. You wrong your husband horribly. He doesn't know that you are here. He thinks you are safe in your own house. He thinks you are asleep in your own room. He never read the mad letter that you wrote to him.
If my husband didn't read my letter, how is it that you are here? My husband told you and sent you to decoy me back.
Your husband has never seen the letter. I saw it. I opened it. I read it.
You opened a letter of mine to my husband. You wouldn't dare.
Dare? Oh, yes. To save you from the abyss into which you are falling. There is nothing in the world I wouldn't dare. Nothing in the whole world. Here is the letter. Your husband has never read it. He shall never read it. It should never have been written. Lady Windermere, think what you like about me. Say what you want against me. But go back to the husband you love.
I do not love him.
Lady Windermere, don't say such terrible things. The money that he gave me not through love, but through hatred. Not through worship, but through contempt. The hold I have over him is...
You admit you have a hold.
Yes. And I will tell you what it is. It is his love for you, Lady Windermere.
What do you mean? You are insolent. What have I to do with you?
Nothing. I know it. But I tell you, your husband loves you. Lady Windermere, before heaven, your husband is guiltless of all offence towards you. And had it occurred to me that such a monstrous suspicion would have entered your mind, I would have died, rather than crossed his life or yours. Died. Gladly died.
You talk as if you had a heart. Women like you have no hearts. Heart isn't in you. You're bought and sold.
Believe what you choose about me. I am not worth a moment's sorrow. But don't spoil your young, beautiful life on my account. You don't know what it is to fall into the pit, to be despised, mocked, abandoned, sneered at, to be an outcast, and all the while to hear the laughter, the horrible laughter of the world. I may have wrecked my own life, but I will not let you wreck yours. Why, you are a mere girl. You would be lost. You don't have the kind of brains that enables a woman to get back. You have neither the wit nor the courage. No, Lady Windermere, go back to the husband who loves you. You have a child. Go back to that child, who even now in pain or in joy may be calling to you. Your place is with your child.
Take me home, take me home.
Lightly, she is near under the snow. Speak gently, she can hear the daisies grow. All her bright golden hair tarnished with rust. She that was young and fair, fallen to dust. Lily-like, white as snow, she hardly knew she was a woman, so sweetly she grew. Coffin board, heavy stone, lie on her breast. I vex my heart alone. She is at rest. Peace, peace. She cannot hear lyre or sonnet. All my life's buried here. Heap earth upon it.
I am now going to tell you, my darling child, the tale of the remarkable rocket. The king's son was going to be married, so there were general rejoicings. He had waited a whole year for his bride, and at last she had arrived. She was a Russian princess who had driven all the way from Finland in a sledge drawn by 6 reindeer. At the gates of the castle, the prince was waiting to receive her. He had dreamy violet eyes, and his hair was like fine gold. When he saw her, he sank upon one knee and kissed her hand. "Your picture was beautiful," he murmured, "but you are more beautiful than your picture." And the little princess blushed. "She was like a white rose before," said a young page to his neighbour, "but she is like a red rose now." And the whole court was delighted, and the king gave orders for the page's salary to be doubled. As he received no salary at all, this was not of much use to him, but it was considered a great honour, and was duly published in the Court Gazette. The climax of the magnificent wedding ceremony was to be a grand display of fireworks, to be let off exactly at midnight. The little princess had never seen a firework in her life. "Let the fireworks begin!" cried the king. It was certainly a magnificent display. Whiz, whiz went the Catherine wheel as she spun round and round. Boom, boom went the Roman candle. "Goodbye," cried the fire balloon as he soared away, dropping tiny blue sparks. "Bang, bang," answered the crackers, who were enjoying themselves immensely. Everyone, in fact, was a great success, with the singular exception of the remarkable rocket. He was so damp with crying that he could not go off at all, and he sank down into the mud and began to think about the loneliness of genius. The next day, 2 little boys in white smocks came running down the bank. "Hello," said one of the boys, "look at this old stick. I wonder how it came to be here." And he picked the rocket up out of the ditch. "Old stick," said the rocket. "Impossible. Gold stick." That is what he said. Gold stick is very complimentary. In fact, he mistakes me for one of the court dignitaries. "Let's put it in the fire," said the other boy. "It will help to boil the kettle." "This is magnificent," said the rocket. "They are going to let me off in broad daylight so that everyone can see me." The rocket was very damp, so he took a long time to burn, but at last the fire caught him. "Now I'm going off," said the rocket, and he made himself very stiff and very straight. "I know that I shall go much higher than the stars, much higher than the moon, much higher than the sun. In fact, I shall go so high that..." And he shot straight up into the air. "Delightful," he cried. "I shall go on like this forever. What a success I am." But nobody saw him. Then he began to feel a curious tingling sensation all over him. Bang! Bang went the gunpowder. Then all that was left of him was the stick, which fell down onto the back of a goose who was taking a walk by the side of a ditch. "Good heavens!" cried the goose. "Is it going to rain sticks?" And she rushed off into the water. "I knew I should create a great sensation," gasped the rocket. And he went out.
Well, where is the painting? Let me look at it.
You must not look at it, Basil. I don't wish you to.
Not look at my own work. You're not serious. Why shouldn't I look at it?
If you try to look at it, Basil, on my word of honour, I will never speak to you again as long as I live. I'm quite serious. I don't offer any explanation, and you are not to ask for any, but remember, if you make any attempt to see it, everything is over between us.
Dorian.
Don't speak.
Well, what is the matter? Of course I won't look at it if you don't want me to, but really it does seem rather absurd that I shouldn't see my own work. Especially as I'm going to exhibit it in Paris in the autumn. I should probably have to give it another coat of varnish before then, so I shall have to see it someday. And why not today?
Exhibit it. You want to exhibit it?
Yes, I don't suppose you'll object to that. The portrait will only be away a month. I should think you could easily spare it for that time.
Basil, we have each of us a secret. Let me know yours. I will tell you mine. What was your reason for refusing to exhibit my painting?
If I told you, you might like me less than you do. And you would certainly laugh. I could not bear your doing either of those two things. If you wish me never to look at your picture again, I am content. I've always you to look at. If you wish the best work I've ever done to be hidden from the world, I am satisfied. Your friendship is dearer to me than any fame or reputation.
No, Basil, you must tell me. I think I have a right to know.
Well, just answer me one question, Dorian. Have you noticed in the picture something curious? Something that probably at first did not strike you, but that revealed itself to you suddenly?
I saw something in it. Something that seemed to me very curious.
Well, you won't mind my looking at the picture now, then?
You must not ask me that, Basil. I couldn't possibly let you stand in front of that painting.
Well, you will someday, surely.
Never!
You are my little cousin Cecily, I'm sure.
You are under some strange mistake. I am not little. In fact, I believe that I am more than usually tall for my age. But I am your cousin Cecily, and you I see from your card are Uncle Jack's brother, my cousin Ernest, my wicked cousin Ernest.
I hope I shall not offend you if I state quite frankly and openly that you seem to me to be in every way the visible personification of absolute perfection.
I think your frankness does you great credit, Ernest. If you will allow me, I will copy your remarks into my diary.
Do you keep a diary? I'd give anything to read it. May I?
Oh, no. You see, it is simply a very young girl's record of her own thoughts and impressions, and consequently met for publication. When it appears in volume form, I hope you shall order a copy. But pray, Ernest, don't stop. I delight in taking down from dictation. I have reached absolute perfection. You can go on, I'm quite ready for more.
Cecily, ever since I looked upon your wonderful and incomparable beauty, I have dared to love you wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly.
I do not think that you should tell me that you love me wildly, passionately, devotedly, hopelessly. Hopelessly doesn't seem to make much sense, does it?
I love you, Cecily. You will marry me, won't you?
You silly boy, of course. Why, we've been engaged for the last 3 months.
For the last 3 months?
It will be exactly 3 months on Thursday.
But how did we become engaged?
Well, ever since dear Uncle Jack first confessed to us that he had a younger brother who was very wicked and bad, you, of course, have formed my chief topic of conversation. And a man that is often talked about is always very attractive. One feels there's something in him after all. I dare say it was foolish for me, but I fell in love with you, Ernest.
Darling! And when was this engagement actually settled?
On the 14th of February last. Worn out by your entire ignorance of my existence, I determined to end the matter one way or another. And after a long struggle with myself, I accepted you. I bought this little ring in your name. And this is the bangle of the true love's knot I promised you always to wear.
Did I get you this? It's very pretty, isn't it?
Yes. You've wonderfully good taste, Ernest. It's the excuse I've always given for your leading such a bad life. And this is a box in which I keep all your dear letters.
My letters? But my own sweet Cecily, I have never written you any letters.
You need hardly remind me of that, Ernest. I remember only too well that I was forced to write them for you. I wrote always 3 times a week, and sometimes oftener.
Oh, do let me see them,
I
Cecily.
couldn't possibly. They would make you far too conceited. The 3 you wrote me after I had broken off the engagement were so beautiful, but so badly spelled, that even now I can hardly read them without crying a little.
But was our engagement ever broken off?
Of course it was. On the 22nd of last March. You can see the diary entry if you like. Today I broke off my engagement with Ernest. I feel it is better to do so. The weather still continues charming.
But why did you break it off? What had I done? I had done nothing at all. I'm very much hurt indeed to hear you've broken it off. particularly when the weather was so charming.
I don't think I could break it off with you now that I've actually met you. And besides, there's a question of your name.
Yes, of course.
You must not laugh at me, darling, but it has always been a girlish dream of mine to love someone whose name was Ernest.
But my own sweet Cecily, do you mean to say that you could not love me if I had some other name?
I might respect you, Ernest. I might admire your character, but I fear that I could not give you my undivided attention.
Cecily, your rector here is, I suppose, thoroughly experienced in the practice of all the rites and ceremonials of the church.
Yes.
I must meet him at once, and a most important christening. I mean, a most important business.
Oh.
I'll be back in no time.
What an impetuous boy he is. I like his hair so much. I must enter his proposal into my diary.
I may call you Cecily, may I not?
With pleasure.
And you will always call me Gwendolyn, won't you?
If you wish.
And that's all quite settled, is it not?
I hope so.
You are here on a short visit, I suppose.
Oh no, I live here. I am Mr. Worthing's ward.
Oh? It is strange he never mentioned to me that he had a ward. How secretive of him. I am not sure, however, that the news inspires me with feelings of unmixed delight. I am very fond of you, Cecily. I have liked you ever since I met you. But I am bound to state that now I know you are Mr. Worthing's ward, I cannot help expressing a wish you were, well, a little older than you seem to be, and not quite so alluring in appearance. In fact, if I may speak candidly...
Pray do. I feel that whenever one has anything unpleasant to say, one should always be quite candid.
Well, to speak with perfect candor, Cecily, I wish you were fully 42 and more than usually plain for your age. Ernest has a strong, upright nature. He is the very soul of truth and honour, but even men of the noblest possible moral character are extremely susceptible to the physical charms of others.
I beg your pardon, dear Gwendolyn. Did you say Ernest?
Yes.
Oh, but it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is my guardian. It is his brother.
Brother?
His elder brother.
Ernest never mentioned to me that he had a brother.
I am sorry to say that they have not been on good terms for a long time.
Ah, that accounts for it then. And now that I think of it, I have never heard any man mention his brother. The subject seems distasteful to most men. Cecily, you have lifted a load from my mind. I was growing almost anxious. It would be a shame if any cloud had come across a friendship like ours, would it not? Of course you are quite sure it is not Mr. Ernest Worthing who is your guardian?
Quite sure. In fact, I'm going to be his.
Beg your pardon?
Dearest Gwendolyn, I see no reason why I should keep it a secret to you. Our little country newspaper is sure to chronicle the fact next week. Mr. Ernest Worthing and I are engaged to be married.
My darling Cecily, I'm afraid there must be some slight error. Mr. Ernest Worthing is engaged to me. The announcement will appear in the Morning Post on Saturday at the latest.
I'm afraid you must be under some misconception. Ernest proposed to me exactly 10 minutes ago.
Oh, it is certainly very strange. For he asked me to be his wife yesterday afternoon at 5:30. If you would care to verify the incident, pray do so. I never travel without my diary. One must always have something sensational to read in the train. I am so sorry, dear Cecily, if it is any disappointment to you, but I am afraid I have the prior claim.
It would distress me more than I can tell you, dear Gwendolyn, if it caused you any mental or physical anguish, but I feel bound to point out that since Ernest proposed to you, he has clearly changed his mind.
If the poor fellow has been entrapped into any foolish promise, I shall consider it my duty to rescue him at once, and with a firm hand.
Whatever unfortunate entanglement my dear boy may have got into, I will never reproach him with it after we are married.
Do you allude to me, Miss Cardew, as an entanglement? You are presumptuous. On an occasion like this, it becomes more than more a duty to speak one's mind. It becomes a pleasure.
Do you suggest, Miss Fairfax, that I entrapped Ernest into an engagement? How dare you! This is no time for wearing the shallow mask of manners. When I see a spade, I call it a spade.
I am glad to say I have never seen a spade. It is obvious our social spheres are widely different.
I wanted to be engaged to Gwendolyn, that is all. I love her.
Well, I want to be engaged to Cecily. I adore her.
There is certainly no chance of you marrying Miss Cardew.
I don't think there's much...
The thing is impossible. The room is damp. Mildew has got into the canvas. The paints I used had some wretched mineral poison in them.
I pose as a mother with a grown-up daughter. Margaret is 21, and I have never admitted to being more than 29. 30. 29 when I